In this episode, we're going to look at virtualization in a way that helps you see both why it is useful and why it creates a special set of security questions, especially when sensitive payment systems are involved. Virtualization is the technology that lets one physical computer run many separate virtual machines, each acting like its own computer with its own operating system. The piece of software that makes this possible is called the hypervisor, and you can think of it as the traffic controller that allocates CPU, memory, storage, and networking to each virtual machine. Because the hypervisor sits underneath many important systems, it becomes a high-value target, and the attack surface around virtualization can be different from the attack surface of normal servers. Evaluating a virtualization platform means understanding what parts could be attacked, what kinds of failures could affect many systems at once, and what controls reduce those risks. For beginners, this topic can sound very technical, but we are going to keep it grounded in simple concepts like isolation, shared resources, management access, and trust boundaries. By the end, you should be able to explain what a hypervisor is, what hypervisor attack surface means, why virtualization changes risk, and what practical safeguards help keep virtualized environments safer. Before we continue, a quick note. This audio course is a companion to our course companion books. The first book is about the exam and provides detailed information on how to pass it best. The second book is a Kindle-only ebook that contains 1,000 flashcards that can be used on your mobile device or Kindle. Check them both out at cyber.author.me in the Bare Metal Study Guide series. Let's begin with a clear explanation of what virtualization is trying to accomplish, because security decisions make more sense when you understand the purpose. In the early days, many applications ran on dedicated physical servers, but that approach was expensive and inefficient because many servers were underused. Virtualization lets you consolidate workloads so you can use hardware more efficiently, scale faster, and manage systems more flexibly. A virtual machine is essentially a software-defined computer with virtual CPU, virtual memory, virtual disk, and virtual network interfaces, but it behaves like a real machine from the perspective of the operating system running inside it. The hypervisor creates and enforces the boundaries between virtual machines, deciding how resources are shared and preventing one virtual machine from directly interfering with another. This isolation is one of the reasons virtualization became popular, but it is important to understand that isolation is a goal, not a guarantee. Virtualization changes the security model because many systems share the same underlying platform, and a failure in that platform can have broad impact. Beginners should remember that consolidation creates efficiency, but also creates concentration of risk. Now let's talk about hypervisors more precisely, because the word is often used without explaining what it actually does. A hypervisor is the layer that allows multiple virtual machines to run on the same physical host by abstracting hardware and managing resource access. There are different approaches to how hypervisors are built, but the key concept is that the hypervisor has special privileges and deep control over the environment. That means if an attacker compromises the hypervisor or its management plane, they may gain the ability to observe, modify, or disrupt many virtual machines at once. This is why the hypervisor is sometimes described as part of the trusted computing base, meaning the small set of components you must trust to enforce isolation and security boundaries. Beginners should understand that the hypervisor is not like an ordinary application. It is closer to the foundation of a building. If the foundation is compromised, it does not matter how strong the locks are on the doors above it. Evaluating virtualization platforms involves asking whether the foundation is well protected and whether access to it is controlled tightly. Attack surface is the set of places an attacker might interact with a system in order to exploit it. For virtualization platforms, the attack surface includes the hypervisor itself, the management interfaces used to control it, the APIs and services that support automation, and the surrounding network and storage connections that integrate the platform into the broader environment. It can also include the tools administrators use, because compromised admin workstations can lead to compromised management access. Another part of the attack surface is the interfaces between guest virtual machines and the hypervisor, such as virtual device drivers and virtualization services that enable features like shared clipboard, time synchronization, or improved graphics. These features can be useful, but they can also create additional pathways for exploitation if they are unnecessary or outdated. For beginners, It helps to think of attack surface like doors and windows in a house. The more openings you have, the more you must secure and monitor. Virtualization adds some new doors and windows, especially around centralized management. When you evaluate a platform, you pay attention to how many openings exist and how well they can be locked down. A particularly important concept is hypervisor escape, which is when an attacker breaks out of a compromised virtual machine and gains access to the hypervisor or other virtual machines. Hypervisor escape is not the most common attack method, but it is one of the most high-impact risks because it can break the isolation that virtualization is supposed to provide. Many hypervisor escape paths involve vulnerabilities in virtual device emulation or guest-to-host interaction components. Even if escape is rare, the risk matters because virtualization concentrates many workloads onto a single host, so one exploit could affect many systems. Beginners should understand that most attackers do not start by aiming at the hypervisor. They often start by compromising an application or credential, and then they look for ways to move laterally. If the virtualization layer has weaknesses, it can become a shortcut for lateral movement. This is why patching and minimizing unnecessary virtual devices and integration features is important. Evaluating attack surface includes considering how well the platform reduces escape opportunities and how quickly it can be updated when vulnerabilities are discovered. The management plane is often a bigger and more realistic risk than the hypervisor core itself, because attackers like the easiest path to high privilege. The management plane includes the consoles, dashboards, APIs, and authentication mechanisms used to create, modify, and administer virtual machines and hosts. If an attacker gains access to management credentials, they might not need a sophisticated exploit. They can simply use legitimate tools to snapshot machines, copy virtual disks, change network settings, or power systems off. That means the management plane needs strong authentication, careful access control, and robust logging so that administrative actions are visible and accountable. It also means administrative accounts should be tightly limited and separated, avoiding the habit of giving many people broad rights for convenience. Beginners should think of the management plane like the master key room for a building. If someone gets into that room, they can unlock many doors without breaking anything. Protecting the management plane often delivers more security value than obsessing over exotic hypervisor exploits. Effective evaluation asks whether management access is isolated, monitored, and hardened. Isolation is the promise virtualization makes, but isolation can be weakened by shared resources and misconfiguration. Virtual machines share physical CPU, memory, and sometimes storage and network infrastructure, and that sharing can create side effects. In rare cases, attackers can attempt to learn information through side channels, which are indirect signals like timing differences. But for beginners, the more practical concern is configuration errors that break separation. For example, if virtual networks are not segmented properly, a system in a low-trust zone might be able to reach a system in a high-trust zone. If storage access is shared too broadly, one system might access another system's virtual disk files. If snapshots and backups are stored without proper protection, sensitive data can leak through administrative copies rather than through direct application access. In payment environments, isolation and segmentation are crucial because you want to limit what can interact with systems that handle cardholder data. Evaluating virtualization platforms includes checking whether the platform supports strong segmentation and whether operational practices actually enforce it. Beginners should remember that many major security failures are not because a platform lacked a feature, but because people did not configure and operate it carefully. Another part of evaluation is resilience and blast radius, which means understanding how failures propagate. When multiple systems run on the same physical host, a host failure can take many workloads down at once, affecting availability. When management systems are centralized, a management outage or compromise can affect the ability to operate the environment safely. For payment systems, availability is important because outages affect transactions, but a rushed recovery can create security gaps if controls are bypassed during restoration. Evaluating a platform includes considering high availability features, backup and recovery processes, and how the environment can be restored without losing security controls like logging and access restrictions. It also includes thinking about how quickly you can detect abnormal behavior, like unauthorized snapshots or unexpected host configuration changes. Beginners should understand that virtualization changes operational risk as well as security risk because it bundles many critical systems together. A good evaluation asks not only can the platform be secured, but can it be operated securely during emergencies? This ties virtualization security to disaster recovery and incident response in a practical way. Monitoring and evidence are also part of evaluation because you need visibility into what is happening at the virtualization layer. If your monitoring only sees what happens inside the guest operating systems, you might miss important events like host-level configuration changes, administrative actions, or virtual network modifications. A strong environment logs management plane actions, tracks who accessed what, and captures changes to host configuration and virtual machine settings. It also monitors for unusual behaviors such as repeated failed logins to management interfaces, creation of new administrative accounts, or unexpected data movement through snapshots or exports. For payment environments, evidence matters because you may need to demonstrate control operation and investigate incidents with confidence. Beginners should think of monitoring as the cameras and access logs for the building, not just the activity inside each office. Without platform-level visibility, you can be blind to the most powerful actions an attacker might take. Evaluating a platform includes understanding whether it provides the right logs and whether your processes actually review them. As we wrap up, the main lesson is that evaluating virtualization platforms and hypervisor attack surfaces is about understanding where trust is concentrated, where attackers might realistically gain leverage, and how to reduce the risk of a single compromise affecting many systems. The hypervisor is the foundation that enforces isolation between virtual machines, which makes it a high-value target. But the management plane is often an even more likely path for attackers because it offers powerful control with fewer technical hurdles. Attack surface includes the hypervisor core, management interfaces, APIs, admin tools, and guest integration features, and effective security reduces unnecessary exposure while keeping patching and updates disciplined. Isolation can be weakened by misconfiguration and shared resource handling, so segmentation and careful control of storage and snapshots are critical, especially in environments connected to payment systems. Resilience and blast radius matter because virtualization concentrates workloads, and outages or compromises can have wide impact if recovery pathways are not secure. Finally, platform-level monitoring and logging provide the visibility needed to detect misuse and support credible investigations. For a new learner, the mindset shift is that virtualization is powerful and efficient, but it centralizes control, so securing it means protecting the foundation and the master keys with extra care.
Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.